Greetings, fellow Justicar Knights. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series of RimWorld named The Darkest Ages. If you would like to skip the backstory, rules, goals, settings, and character overview, please use YouTube chapters. Rhadamant was an up-and-coming diplomat and strategist from a lesser noble family that threatened the status quo of the political elites, so she was forced into a position to become a landed noble. The catch: the land was deep in the hostile wilderness surrounded by enemy settlements. The land still held promise. If she could see her mission through, her territory would open trade between the western and eastern halves of the northern continent, which could bring great wealth and prosperity. Little did she know, the land was untamed for a dreadful reason. Demonic forces mustered in the dark gloom. Rhadamant and her compatriots must stand against the dread of the forest. The goal is to build a fortress to stand against the demonic legion, to expand our town to accommodate trade and travel, and to study the demons to understand their origins and weaknesses. The rules: no recruiting prisoners, so there's not going to be a way to grow through capture, so to speak. The kingdom and the merchants must stay allied, so we can't betray them or anything like that. The settings is random, losing is fun, but Anomaly is jacked up. On ambient horror by default, it's like 15%, and I jacked it up to 50, cause yeah. The tech level max for the entire world is set to medieval. There might be some like weird exceptions where like things bleed through and need to get removed in dev mode or whatever. And as such, the mechs and the bug faction don't exist because both are spacer factions, essentially. The bugs were created to fight mechs, so they don't really make sense without mechs, whatever. You can see the mod list in the top right there. It's a big ol' list of mods, but only a few are very impactful on the series. Probably the most impactful of the series would be the real fog. So I have Fog of War and some of the medieval ones. And then there is our ideology, and I'll open up the ideology in this screen. So our ideology is pretty simple. It's a collectivist human primacy. We don't research very fast. We absolutely do not do anomalous rituals, and we don't study it very well either. We do believe in charity. It's not required, but it is important all the same. Here's our roles and our rituals. This is the world, a medieval world. Here's the factions. So we are part of the kingdom of the Justicars. So as you can see, they are our ally, and our natural goodwill with them is 95. So it's not likely it will dip much lower. There's the merchant guilds, and then a bunch of savage kingdoms and rough kingdoms, all with their own ideologies. As far as the world goes, we're in the Dread Forest. We call it that. It's not formally named the Dread Forest, but as you can see, there is basically no other passage between the Dread Forest to get east and west. So it is sort of prime real estate unless you want to go all the way underneath the Azusia Sea. And of course, not all the globe is rendered, but like there is no canals or anything allowing you to do a water crossing. This is our starting map tile. It is a lake with an island, which is very important when you're trying to build a fort or fortress. And here is our starting pawns. So we don't start off with much, as you might be able to tell. And we don't have a lot of supplies, but we have Rhadamant. So Rhadamant is a young diplomat strategist who is also the captain of our regiment. Great memory, optimist, hard worker, really is only here for the social and science and medical. Not much of a combatant, and due to her upbringing, is not going to be doing a lot of labor. Then we have her lover, Scorpio. Scorpio is kind, super immune, and iron-willed. Shooting, melee, social, is the chaplain of this chapter, is one of the watchmen. And then Avalka. Avalka is trigger-happy, jogger, nimble. Shooting, melee, cooking, and animals. A prize archer. And she is married to Klein. Klein is a tough, nimble brawler. He's a pastoral guardian, and he signed up for this because he thought it would bring him honor. We've got Lillian, who's sanguine, fast-walking, and pretty, and she is a field hand. And the chance to work in a forest with new herbs and plants intrigued her. And she is a non-combatant, so she doesn't even have a weapon. And then Maddock. Maddock is a siege engineer and blacksmith apprentice, so crafting, construction, and mining. And he is ready to help build the fort. Other things. In terms of the research, as I mentioned in the intro, we are restricted to medieval, so it's not much of a research tree. And we do research a whole lot slower. And let's get going. So right off the bat, we're going to want to do some basic work. I did take the liberty of changing some of the policies. So the anything policy is like non-tattered, non-tainted. The food policy is meals and pemmican only. The drug policy is no drugs. And the reading policy is no anomalous tomes. I think immediately it would be wise to work drive Lillian. That's literally going to be the first thing I do. Because we're going to want to get food growing on this island. As you can see, this is my field of vision. I don't really know what's going on beyond my field of vision because I have fog of war. So, hunting near the edges of the map, kind of dangerous because, you know, we can get jumped. Things can kill us. So the first thing I want to do is to start planting rice in the fertile zones. And then I'll probably plant other crops as well. We're also going to need to amass a whole lot of wood because we did not come here with a lot of supplies. We basically trekked deep into the forest. And as such, we're going to need to cut down a whole lot of trees for that. Work priorities. Firefight, patient, basic. And then anyone that has proclivities, I'll raise it up to like a 2. And then change it from there. There we go. I don't really care about art, at least not yet. Cool. All right. For a starting place to live, let's go ahead and create a 9x9, or actually let's make it a full 11x11 stockpile here. And this is going to be absolutely a temporary structure. Do not intend for this to remain standing for very long. I'm going to have a little cutout here, and this is going to be for a research room. And then I'll have another cutout on the other side, and that's going to be for a bathroom. Because I am running Dub's Bad Hygiene, so we are going to need latrines. And starting with a latrine is kind of important. There also happens to be water here, by chance. That was a weird coincidence. So let's go ahead and put a well right there. Why not? And we'll have doors, one facing the field, going north, south, east, west. Seems reasonable to me. Initially, I think it's going to be most sensible to sort of just like double up and everyone share a barracks, but eventually the plan will be to get everyone like a bedroom and, you know, actually be able to sleep and be comfortable or whatever. So we're going to need 2 double beds and 2 single beds. We're also going to want a table with chairs. Maybe I'm going to move this double bed over here. A table with chairs for dining. Do a 2x2. So table with chairs, seating for everyone. And then I am going to make a horseshoe pin, but I'm not going to bother making a chest table because it just takes a while to make. So the chest table is going to have to wait. I'm going to name this rice, and I am not going to sew it just yet because cutting down trees is going to be more important. Now, other things we're going to want pretty early on is a stone cutting table. And we're going to want a butchery table. And I'm going to put them outside for now. But we'll eventually decide where they go exactly. And then we're going to want to research. And then in this We'll put a torch and another torch. And then I'm going to do the floors, like, later. I don't want to do the floors initially because, of course, the floors will take a lot more wood. All right. I think that's about right. Oh, other things. We only came with a little bit of pemmican, like 500. It's a lot, but it will go pretty fast. So another thing we're going to want to do is to set up a fresh corpses of animals. And call this butchery. And then if we fail to butcher them in a reasonable time, we'll do... Actually, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to haul dead animals all around the map. So I think that just about sums up all the immediate needs. So let's unpause. Everyone's going to go grab water from the pond. And we'll start hauling and building. So Lillian is trying to cut down as many trees as she can. Trying to clear the path, clear the way. Rayvac is mostly going to be idle. So what I want to do is work really early on to try to get a decent research area so that Rayvac can start researching for us. The first research I want to hit is probably food preservation techniques. Because without that, there's no, like, refrigeration. You know, this is medieval time. So the idea is that we're going to salt our meats to keep them from spoiling. So that when we hunt, we're not just, like, wasting an immense amount of material. Guero, Kellyan, Portapane, thank you for the gifted subs. And welcome. Always a pleasure to have you guys here. Alright, so it's going to complain that I don't have colonist beds and rec variety, but that's obviously going to be coming soon. And Rayvac already has a research bench. So, food preservation techniques allows us to make a meat rack, and a meat rack allows us to salt meat in a controlled temperature environment in order to salt it and then keep it from spoiling. So that is what that project's all about. I am going to turn off auto home zoning because I see them cleaning up the dirt outside, and there's honestly better things we can do with our time. So let's get rid of that. Now, another thing we have to consider is a fort needs walls, obviously. So as far as the structure goes that we have initially, we could make palisades. The advantage of the palisades, it is cheap and quick to build, but it is, of course, flammable. There is regular walls, stone walls, because we do have stone cutting. We started with stone cutting. So here's our starting research: recurve bow, stone cutting, pemmican, passive cooler, complex furniture, and complex clothing. But more reasonably, it might be the cobblestone walls, which just requires the chunk uncut. And we could do, like, cobblestone granite. So that's another concept. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get, like, the very basics built first, and then I'm going to worry about the finer details like that. All right. Right now, I'm going to have Lillian cut down mature or nearly mature trees so that we have plenty of wood to build with. She is currently work-driven, and that shouldn't be too hard. All right. Another thing that I think we need to build really early on is the latrine, because pooping out in the woods is not exactly fun for anyone, so I'm making sure to queue that up pretty early on as well. And then we'll work on beds. The hope is that we have walls and beds before we, like, go to sleep. So I might even wait for a lot of the other projects here in order to try to get, like, walls and beds first. And just keep cutting those trees down. Now, pretty early early on, I'm going to want, like, at least basic wooden bridges out to the other landmasses so that we can travel. Because trying to hunt, trudging through a shallow lake is going to be upsetting. It's going to be inefficient. It's not a good idea. So, what I'm hoping to do is to amass a lot of wood after we get the rice sown in order to afford projects like big bridges. Alright, it looks like we have some people that might actually need some tasks. So I am going to make the decision here to start cutting the slate. I'm not 100% sure whether we're going to have the stone chunks built as cobblestone, granite cobblestone walls, but the slate is less durable, so I know cutting slate should be totally fine. There isn't a reason not to cut it. Alright. I ought to be aiming to... so let's have a Valka and Scorpio, who look a little idle to me, start hunting yaks. And then I ought to be able to get some basic cooking going as well, if they're going yak hunting. Once we have some basic structures up, I might poll you about what you want to do about the initial walls around our island. Whether you think palisades or cobblestone chunks are the way to go. Wine and a Valka. Okay. So we only have... Oh no, we have all beds done. Cool. Alright, let's try to get the walls up so we aren't sleeping technically outside. It's already 4 p.m. So I'm not going to let Manic rest, unfortunately. We just have to keep going. And then once the walls are done, probably get some furniture so we eat with tables. And then after we get that up and going... Oh, Lillian, did you run out of trees? You may have run out of trees. Once that's done, then we can start flooring it up. I'm not going to bother trying to make a stone shack initially, because I just don't have enough materials, and making sure everyone is, like, comfortable is more important initially anyway. Okay, so the laboratory is a laboratory. Awesome. And let's get some tables and stools up. Ooh, it's getting all sorts of dark now. I hope my hunters are okay out there. Oh no, they came back in. They were like, yeah, no, screw it. Where'd that yak go, guys? You hunted a yak over here. I don't see it. You didn't bring it home? Oh, Klein's taking it. Why didn't you just carry it back? You jerks. For real. You made Klein carry it for you? Like, who does that? Only a little bit of judgment here. Alright, in here, we're gonna want, like, a fueled stove. And the fueled stove is, obviously this isn't a kitchen. So it's not an ideal place for it. Of course, it's dirty, and it's gonna have, like, food poisoning risk as a result. But, that's what we can afford, at least for now. Oh, and they're going hunting again. In the fog, in the night. Yeah, that's rough. Alright, Medic, could you... Well, I guess actually we have recreation. And we have at least 2 stools. So that's, like, not a bad start. That's respectable, I suppose. So Scorpio's coming back, and Ranvac is headed to sleep. Alright, question for you guys. You early birds. What should I do about the perimeter? Palisades or cobble walls. And I'll highlight the pros and cons of both. So the palisades are very simple and cheap, but they're flammable. They're impassable fences, but, you know, they can't hold up a roof, but we'll be able to throw them together really quickly. The cobble walls are tougher and not flammable, but it's going to take a lot longer to build, and they will use the granite chunks instead. I'll have you decide between those two choices. So I'll give you a little bit of time there. Boom. And you can pick between the two. And of course, one's going to be significantly faster than the other. Whoops. There we go. So it also somewhat determines the length of time it will take to fulfill those projects. Right, looks like we are nearly out of wood. I'm going to continue Lillian's task of sowing the rice, and then I'll start probably sowing other crops. So if you're wondering, we're somewhat far north. So the growing season is between the 1st of April, May, and the 11th of September. It's not year-round growing season. And as such, we should try to amass as much food as we can in the growing season so that it carries over through the winter, so we don't rely on hunting so heavily in the winter. So as long as we don't urgently need wood, I'm going to have the Lillian just plant as much as she can. And we did a work drive on her for that reason. Now, the caveat, of course, is we probably want to floor this up so it's, like, not hideous. But, like, that's a whole different can of worms. Alright, as far as meals go, I'm going to cook simple meals out of meat once this is fueled up. And we're going to rely on that, at least for now. Alright, the barracks is somewhat cold, but we are heading into a summer, so I am not too worried that it will be cold for very long. Like, it will probably warm up. There's also boomalopes on the island. Maybe if it starts raining, I'll have you guys remind me if it starts raining, I'll hunt the boomalopes. There we go, Lillian is cooking in a somewhat dirty kitchen, but it's literally just dirt on the ground, soil on the ground, so it's not like I could fix that. Alright, seems to me like you guys want me to make a cobble wall perimeter. So let's talk about perimeter security. Our vision radius can be increased through watchtowers. So I can build watchtowers to allow us to see farther out and be able to spot threats further out. And what we're going to want is we're going to want walls around most of the fertile soil in the, you know, on the island. But have watchtowers be able to protect us. So I'm going to paint what I think might be a good sort of radius. I don't intend to protect the entire island, because there's not a lot of value in protecting the entire island. But if I protect some of it, where we then can build watchtowers on the corners, when our population growth goes up, we can have people man the watchtowers, be able to keep watch, and then also possibly fish off of the watchtowers. So there will be some synergy there. So this radius should allow us to live somewhat comfortably, and then we can take another pass on it later on to wall up the entire island with like bridges and everything to make it look like a proper castle, but that's when our wealth is a lot better. On the southern half, I think it would be in my advantage to maybe incorporate this rocky outcropping into the plan, and then shave it down so it doesn't block line of sight. Because as you can see, mountains block line of sight. To that end, maybe something like that. So there isn't an urgency in shaving it down. The problem is then there's the watchtower. Well, I could build a watchtower here. That would see both ways. So I think I like this this wall layout. This will work. The other thing, when planning out the perimeter, I think it's going to be really helpful to also plan the bridges. So there's an obvious bridge here because that's like nearly the shortest path. But what I want is I want bridges eventually, not immediately, but eventually a whole bunch of bridges to all other sides. And then eventually, like once again, we're wealthy enough, the plan would be to enclose our bridges and walls like that so that enemies cannot use our bridges. Now, the problem with this, however, is it will cause line of sight blocking. So if we did something like this, we would definitely want to do it when we had the manpower to man all the towers so there wasn't gaps in our vision or something like that. But let's go ahead and plan some basic bridges. This is just like a rough estimate of where bridges could go. Now, obviously, to get to the north kind of sucks because this is a huge, vast quantity of water. What I can do is... Oh, I thought that I selected the plan that was a straight line. I did not. So let's have a bridge. No, I don't want it straight. I want it diagonally. Oh, booey. Here we go. That makes sense. And actually, if we're doing a bridge to there, maybe even as a stretch goal, bridges like that, and then one down here. Something along those lines? Okay. I can live with that. Would bridges not funnel them as well? It depends on how we want to defend. There are a whole bunch of defenses that we'll eventually research and unlock. So I'm not going to plan that yet. The first patch of bridges are going to be wooden bridges, so they're sort of temporary and not designed to be resilient. All right, then the next thing to do here is name the zone and call this inside. This inside zone is going to be in here, and this is behind the walls. The reason for this is I don't want Manic and Klein, who are our constructors, to actually work on the walls. And the reason is, if we make them out of granite chunks, it's going to be all that they ever do because of the scope of this project. So instead, I want them building the rest of the settlement and have my haulers haul stones to these building projects instead. So if I delete the plan, as you can see, there are like little choke points here where like one brawler can fend off against enemies with good line of sights. So there you have it. So what I'm hoping to do is to have Scorpio and Avalka help haul cobblestone to the walls, and then once like a decent amount of cobblestone has been hauled to the walls, then allow Klein and Manic access to the walls to build it. But I don't want to monopolize Manic and Klein's time unless they have nothing better to do. See to keep, thank you for the gifted subs. And the resub. Alright, taking a look at our resources also, we are going to want compacted steel, so I'm going to start mining that. So some of the corners here are obviously getting built. Another reason to build it in batches, if you're wondering, is a partially built wall, all it serves to do is block our line of sight. So a partially built wall is actually puts us at a bit of a disadvantage due to line of sight blocking until we're ready to actually construct the whole thing. Do the watchtowers need to be manned? What do you think? I bet you can guess. An empty watchtower sees nothing, right? That's kind of how that works. Now, the mod does have other ways to detect stuff, but I removed that because it's weird and stupid. Like, having chickens and stuff be your, like, spotters. Yeah, I got rid of that whole concept. So, some of the mods that have, that are included have been, like, either modified or, cherry-picked as a result. So it's... You shouldn't just, like, look at all the mod set and think that I haven't modified it myself as well. And then some of the mods are, like, self-produced. So, you know, there's that as well. Hey, Alpha, thank you for the resub. So as you can see, yeah, Avalka and Scorpio, between their hunting trips and cooking, they are prepping the walls. They're moving chunks to the walls. And what I'll probably end up wanting to do is eventually have like a dumping stockpile where we put chunks. So this is going to be a chunk stockpile because I suspect there wasn't enough granite on this island to even build all these walls. So we're going to need to haul granite from elsewhere. Once Lillian is done with the rice, my plan is to have her sow other types of crop. And then eventually start mass cutting trees down for fuel. And then some of that, of course, will then become bridges, allowing us access to the other sections of the map without, you know, having to slowly trudge through the water. Hey, an iron casket beetle. So what these things are is they're like metal bugs, and they're scared of us. So if I click on it, you can read, a large beetle covered in iron-like carapace, fearful and reclusive. These peculiar insectoids burrow into ore deposits to give birth, and they are a source of steel. So you can butcher them for steel. So if we are freeing them, I can have like Scorpio stand here and shoot it. And then Klein, you want to try to kill it? Avalka, you shoot it too. Alright, get a little closer. Oh, it's down. Perfect. I'll quickly do a tend on Klein. He did take a crack to the nose, barely, but still. And then when we butcher this thing, it will, it'll get butchered up for... Actually, let's just do it forever. It'll get butchered up for, iron. Or steel, rather. Plop. The insect meat, I'm just gonna leave outside, because obviously we're not gonna want to eat it. But the bonus steel is kind of nice. Alright, I do not want you bed resting. You don't need it. Get back up. So, Lillian, you are cooking? Okay, that's fine. Ooh, a flirt attempt. Impishly questioning her melee fighting skills. Yeah, you know, both of you are non-combatants, and you have literally the same skills. So in a slap fight, you both would lose. It looks like all of the rice is now sown, so I'm just gonna, instead of building a tree, making a tree cut zone, I'm just gonna hand pick some trees to cut down, because we do need a little bit of wood before I start sowing other crops. So, other crops to sow. I am gonna sow... one of the advantages of sowing other crops is it's also gonna mitigate my risk for blight hitting rice. Also potatoes. Also corn. We don't yet have the ability to brew beer or tea, but I'll do hay grass and heel root. Where is... There it is. And cotton. And I made the zone rectangular-ish just for convenience. So it's all in one place. Cheers. Man, the map is dark when we're all inside. Goodness. Good news is things are starting to get floored. And then once they're floored up a bit, we can make shelves for the stuff so that it's like less ugly inside. I'm not going to try to organize it. This wooden structure obviously is not a permanent structure in the base. So I'm not going to pretend like it's permanent. I'm not going to invest in it in that way. So for now, I would say we still need some more wood, so I'm going to not sow this yet. And it looks like Manic is starting to cut stone, which indicates that we could maybe release him from his zoning. But I know I'm going to end up building slate structures, so having an extra stuff cut for stone seems fine to me. I think at this point, I'm going to create a new food policy. And this will just be meals. And allow only meals and not pemmican. And put everyone on a meals only policy. So the pemmican is going to be reserved for emergencies only. And I'll have everyone in the colony start dropping their personal pemmican stashes inside. So that they're not, they don't have extra food in their pockets. So I think Matic is the only one that hasn't done that. Yeah. Because I don't want to interrupt his stone cutting. There we go. Alright, so now we have 321 pemmican. And we'll rely on meals made with meat for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, piecemeal hunt. I'm only going to hunt what we absolutely need. Because we don't really have a means for food preparation. Oh, you know what? Hold up. It is indeed raining. And I had mentioned wanting to hunt these guys if it rained. Because the risk of our fields burning down is basically zero if it's raining. Lillian, that's not a super safe place to be, though. Alright, we'll start with just those two, and then we can expand from there. I don't think I need to hunt a whole bunch at the moment. Alright, the laboratory is nice and clean. That's what I like to see. The barracks is dull, so it's at least not awful, and it's only going to get better. I do need a sludge place. So for now, I'm just going to dump it right outside the door. Because obviously this is a horrid bathroom until it's cleaned up. There it goes. And it doesn't decay outside, so it's not a loss of... it's not going to be a loss of potential fertilizer if we leave it there. A little worried that this boomlet wasn't going out quick enough. There we go. Alright. So the current priority right now is build a perimeter wall and bedrooms. Actually, I don't know about the bedrooms. I think I want a great hall first, strangely enough. So, from a design standpoint, one thing we might want to consider is to not have buildings in the center. The reason is because line of sight is broken, it's best, or at least this is my thinking, it's best if our buildings are up against the walls here. So imagine if these are our structures, because we'd be able to see to the other side. If we have a building in the middle, then we can't see the corners. So making sure that we structure our fort so that it's hollow, I guess, I think is probably a good idea. Because if we don't have it like hollowish, the line of sight guarding is going to be kind of difficult to do. And then eventually remove this entire mountain, and if there's overhead mountain, which we don't know yet, but I'm likely there is, we'll hold it up with like columns or something so it doesn't block our line of sight. Which is a weird concept, very dwarven or something, but yeah, that's at least my thinking for now. Alright, Lilin. We have a decent amount of wood supply, so how about we do continue to sow. One of the advantages of sowing when it's raining is the rain increases fertility. So if we get plants in the ground now, they'll grow a little faster with all this deluge. An inner courtyard, true fortress-like. Yeah, exactly. Or at least that's the idea. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld: The Darkest Ages, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow knights.